In the public consciousness, the idea that humanity is at a crucial turning point is increasingly asserting itself. Today, an extraordinary global crisis is observed, affecting art, science, philosophy, religion, law, and politics simultaneously. Widespread fragmentation prevails, dividing science and religion, theory and practice, man and nature, thought and emotion, conscious and unconscious. In the midst of a cultural crisis, people seek support in traditional cultural values. In the 20th century, the attention of both scholars and ordinary people is increasingly drawn to Eastern cultures, including the culture of China, which serves as the foundational culture of the Far East countries. China's cultural heritage has always attracted seekers with its incomprehensible harmony of parts and wholes, humans and nature, the external and the internal. In the face of the crisis in Western philosophy and religion, many find solace in the teachings of Chinese sages such as Confucius, Laozi, and Zhuangzi. Chan Buddhism, which has gained considerable popularity in the West and influenced the works of many well-known Western writers and scholars, originated in China. Some researchers believe that the ideas of Daoism and Buddhism can help overcome the global cultural crisis of modern society, and that turning to traditional Eastern values is the path to salvation. What is Daoism? This question has long attracted the attention of China researchers, but providing a brief and clear answer has proven challenging because Daoism is a multidimensional and ambiguous concept. The word Dao is not exclusive to Daoism. It belongs to the entire Chinese thought, and every philosopher of ancient China saw it as the designation of truth, or, more precisely, the truth and the righteous path of life. All Chinese sages are followers of Tao. Although this concept gave Daoism its name, there is nothing specifically Taoist about it. It is one of the most important categories in all of Chinese culture. Only its interpretation as Daoism makes it specific. If in Confucianism, Tao is the path of moral perfection and governance based on ethical norms, in Daoism, Tao takes on the meaning of the highest first principle, the world substance, the source of being of everything. Dao is what is given to a person before he knows himself, and Dao is what will pass from us to future generations after we are gone. What is it? The classics of the Daoist tradition give a seemingly vague but essentially precise answer. Everything that exists by itself, that is not produced by human deliberation and concern, that does not bear the stamp of effort, tension, or violence. The Chinese ethnicity is one of the oldest existing on Earth. It possesses a unique set of qualities developed over millennia of evolution. Moreover, these qualities were shaped under the influence of original esoteric methods of perfecting the body, life energy, mind, and consciousness. Laozi is traditionally considered the founder of Daoism, living, according to legend, at the turn of the 6th-5th centuries before the Common Era. Before permanently leaving China for the West, he left a compilation of his teachings called the Tao Te Ching to the border guard chief Yin Chai. In it, he discusses the unified origin of everything, a single substance and simultaneously a universal law, Dao. Dao is the central philosophical concept of Daoism, and it should be noted that it can be mistakenly regarded as a common concept. Before anyone hears about Dao, they already have some ideas in their consciousness, so it seems that there is no need to add the same concept of Dao to them. However, as the concept of Dao is procedural, it cannot be learned like a physical formula or a multiplication table. According to Laozi, the Dao that can be spoken is not the eternal Dao. One can only enter into the Dao and master it. Laozi believed that Dao is the eternal Dao, the essence of which cannot be expressed in words. It has no form, does not produce sounds, does not have a shape, and you look at it, but you do not see it. You listen to it, but you do not hear it. You try to grasp it, but you cannot catch it. In short, Dao is emptiness or non-being. One who wishes to cultivate the Dao righteous path must first understand the Dao truth. If one does not know the truth, they will be like a blind person following a blind guide, or like someone polishing a pebble to make jade, or like one cooking sand in the hope of making rice. Such a person will never achieve success. The Dao possesses aspiration and sincerity. It is in a state of inactivity and devoid of form. The Dao can be preached, but it cannot be touched. The Dao can be understood, but it cannot be seen. The Tao is the root and foundation of itself. It has existed eternally from ancient times before heaven and earth. It enlivens spirits and enlightens rulers, giving birth to heaven and earth. It is above the great limit but not high, below the six limits but not deep. It is born before heaven and earth, but not continuously existing, extending since deep antiquity but not old. The Tao is what makes the darkness of things what it is, what shapes the darkness of things, what defines the darkness of principles. Tao is not knowledge or art, but rather a skill of not obscuring the great tranquility of being with busy activity. Thus, Daoism embodies the essence of Eastern thought, always demanding that individuals attain the fullness of their existence through self-withdrawal, revealing the depth of non-desire that harbors the most spiritual desire. Therefore, Daoism is not a philosophy in the classical sense, as it is not concerned with defining concepts, logical proofs, and other procedures of pure speculation. It is not a religion of a transcendent God, demanding faith and obedience. Finally, it cannot be reduced to art, craftsmanship, or practice in the conventional sense, because Tao wisdom does not assert the necessity of doing anything. Instead, Daoism is the path of holistic existence, where contemplation and action, spirit and matter, consciousness and life converge in a free, boundless, chaotic unity. Such unity, like most fundamental concepts of Daoism, is inherently paradoxical, and that is why Taoist teachers fall silent when asked to explain it. As stated in the Tao Te Ching, the main canon of Daoism, the one who knows does not speak, the one who speaks does not know. And elsewhere, when a petty person hears about the Tao, they laugh. If they did not laugh, it would not be the Tao. Taoist sages neither prove nor preach. They do not even teach a specific way of life. Their goal is to provide true life orientation, to indicate the path to the center of life experience, eternally absent and omnipresent. Daoism, not strictly speaking as previously mentioned, a philosophy or a religion, combines characteristics of both. According to Taoist teachings, only the great Tao truly exists, pre-eternal, infinite, unthinkable, without form, taste, or smell, created by no one, self-stem, self-root, encompassing and containing everything that exists. Taoists call it the highest teacher, the heavenly ancestor, the mother of the world, or the creator of things. However, they do not expect any specific interest in their personal fate or the fate of the universe from it, because everything happens spontaneously, every moment in time, and every particle of being are entirely self-sufficient. Daoism is a very diverse teaching that is not limited to theoretical constructs. Early Taoists developed their own deep and original concept of human cultural development, which became the basis for Taoist culture of mental activity, influencing the entire mental culture of ancient and medieval China. The peculiarity of Taoist mental concepts was that they regarded the natural not only as a purely psychophysiological aspect in humans, but as an embodiment of universal laws of structural organization and functioning of the world, common to all nature, both living and non-living. Although isomorphic to those in human beings, these universal laws were not entirely and completely reducible to them due to the specific nature with which these universal laws manifest themselves in humans. Therefore, the main task of Taoist psychotraining and mental self-regulation practice was not to subjugate humans to the biological principle as such, but to reveal the cosmic principle originally inherent in them, and to subject psychophysiological processes to universal cosmic laws, to eliminate all obstacles to their natural and complete self-expression. At the macroscopic level, as a result, a person becomes an equal member in all respects of the cosmic triad heaven, earth, human. The ultimate expression of the universality of the functioning of the universe is the great Tao, which Taoists identify with the true essence of a person, and in complete submission to which they see the highest goal of the cultural development of the human personality. To grasp the principle of the universal cosmic order and merge with it, Taoists suggested simply forgetting conventional norms and conventions, and in the surge of spontaneous enlightenment, identifying oneself with the unconditional Tao. They claimed that in a state of self-forgetfulness, understanding one's true nature identical to the true essence of everything, one simultaneously identifies with the world of surrounding nature, forming an inseparable and harmonious unity with it. This is because the comprehension of Tao is a psychological experience in which the distinction between subject and object, between self and non-self, disappears. It involves a kind of self-identification of all contradictions and oppositions that fracture the original integrity of the world and create in everyday consciousness dramatic collisions between microcosm and macrocosm on one side, and between human personality, or more precisely, their individual self, and the true nature of humanity on the other. According to Taoist beliefs, the therapeutic value of enlightenment lies in its ability to reconcile contradictions at a higher level of consciousness. In this sense, Tao was interpreted as a path to a more integral and harmonious functioning of the human psyche, leading to the merger of the individual flow of consciousness with the universal path of the universe, and its operation in full accordance with the universal principle of the structural organization and functioning of the cosmic whole. Taoists argued that contradictions and opposites mutually identify themselves within themselves rather than at some higher stage of synthesis, as in Hegelian dialectics. Therefore, for a Taoist attaining a state of non-duality, there is no progression towards some absolute. Instead, all contradictions exist simultaneously with their identity. Every phenomenon simultaneously affirms and negates itself in the process of dynamic interaction of polarities, which is the source of all movement and development and presents itself as a dialectical unity of continuity and discreteness. Achieving such impartiality, however, does not imply the extinguishing of the mental life of a person. On the contrary, the detachment of the subject, the absence of the disruptive interference of their personality's activity, the individual self, leads to a fuller manifestation of the specificity of each phenomenon as such, to the maximum revelation of its own Tao. Such adherence to the Tao of all things had great significance in all spheres of human activity, allowing Taoists to address sensory perceptual and motor tasks arising during various practical activities, which could be considered as concrete means of embodying Tao principles in practice. In the above quote from the Tao Te Ching, a cosmological process of creation was described, with a direct reference to the primary formation of matter from 1 to 2. The mention of 2 is a direct reference to the initial emergence of the two principles, yin and yang. The theory of yin and yang dates back centuries, but owes its formulation to Zhou Yan, who lived in the 4th century BC. The theoretical basis of this doctrine is also considered in the I Ching. Yin is the dark, feminine principle, while yang is the light, masculine principle. They symbolize two types of universal forces embodied in the 5 elements, which, in turn, constitute the essence of the world. Just as Tao establishes balance, yin and yang need it. Like the sunny and shady sides of a mountain, yin and yang are indivisible and complement each other. Life cannot be painted only in dark colors, or vice versa. To think otherwise is to show recklessness. Attempting to perceive life as an endless stream of pleasures is predestined for disappointment. Similarly, it is impossible to be 100% man or 100% woman. This is a fundamental concept of Daoism, a balanced approach to all phenomena of nature and correction in case of a disturbance of natural balance. This concept is expressed by the symbol of the great limit, Taiji. The black color symbolizes yin, while the white color represents yang. These two opposites constitute a unified whole, complementing each other and flowing into one another. All things are characterized by the presence of both masculine and feminine elements, as well as manifestations of darkness and light. The feminine element necessarily contains elements of the masculine, and vice versa. Simultaneously, the Taiji symbolizes continuous movement and unceasing process. The symbolism of yin and yang permeates all spheres of Chinese national life and culture. The philosophy of yin and yang can be considered an acknowledgement of the existing order of things. Daoism does not assert that life is inherently cloudless and that suffering is just an unfortunate accident. The foundation of any life phenomenon is the balance of growth and decline, joy and sorrow, acquisition and loss. It is precisely the understanding of the dual nature of all existence that allows one to live happily, independent of the black and white stripes in life. Taoists argue that in a person's life, periods of activity and contemplative rest should alternate. Otherwise, their activity will be inefficient. Religious knowledge is considered by us as an important aspect of the real experience of comprehending the world, evolving in a unified historical space. Doctrines, as products of understanding specific mystical experiences, represent milestones in this evolutionary process. They constitute the essence of any religious teaching and influence all components of religion, from cult practices and organizational structure to elements of ritual attire and cult objects. The complexity of studying Taoism is largely determined by its intermediate position between primitive beliefs and developed religious forms. In it, alongside elements of primitive beliefs and superstitions, there are well-formed doctrinal positions. Despite its inherent amorphousness, Taoist doctrine is a comprehensive worldview system defining the fundamental principles of the activities of modern Taoism followers, regardless of its directions. The relationship with society is one of the most relevant issues facing any religious institution. In the 20th century, this is felt more acutely than ever. Secularization and the gradual displacement of religion from the social spheres of modern secular states are influenced by many factors. The most important of them are the emergence of political organization models that, being completely free from theocratic ideals, in new conditions, contribute to the independent development of political and economic activities. The scientific and technological revolution has also transformed the world, expanding human capabilities beyond previously imaginable horizons. However, the fascination and admiration for progress are increasingly replaced by concern about the state and fate of the world. At the turn of the centuries, humanity faced many global problems. The threat of nuclear and ecological catastrophes, armed conflicts, organized crime, drug addiction, the danger of negative consequences of genetic engineering and biotechnology, the growth of social and ethnic tension, and more. Gradually, awareness of the paramount importance of spiritual rebirth and creation is returning. In this context, the question of integrating traditional religions into the structure of modern society is vital for civilization as a whole. This explains the interest in it from religious institutions, corresponding state bodies, and the broader public.